Everyone remembers the duel of 1945. The day Dumbledore defeated Grindelwald and saved the wizarding world. But what if he didn't? What if Dumbledore hesitated just for a second, and Grindelwald never lost the Elder Wand? Because in this timeline, Hogwarts still stands, but the students aren't being taught to defend themselves. They're being taught to rule.
History hinges on a heartbeat. In 1945, Albus Dumbledore faced Gellert Grindelwald in a duel that shook the very foundations of the magical world. The air itself seemed to tremble, sharp with the scent of ozone, like the world was holding its breath. We know the story. Dumbledore triumphed. But what if the story were different? What if love, guilt, or exhaustion made Dumbledore just a fraction of a second too slow? For a moment, just a moment, it almost looked as though Grindelwald might reach for him. In this reality, Grindelwald wins. Yet he does not destroy, he organizes. Ministries across Europe fall not to fire and blood, but to velvet-gloved surrender.
In one atrium, a witch paused mid-step, watching the banners change above her, then adjusted her robes and kept walking. Muggles are stripped of independence, placed into protectorates, managed as both resources and wards, preserved yet not free. The true tragedy, however, does not unfold in city halls or battlefields. It unfolds in classrooms, where the wands of tomorrow are forged under the shadow of the Elder Wand.
Not a single chair scraped, not a whisper echoed too loudly. Even the candles burned at the same height. When Grindelwald's acolytes marched onto the lawns of Hogwarts, there was no battle. Headmaster Armando Dippet was quietly retired. In his place stood Vinda Rosier, aristocratic, composed, and utterly unyielding. Students sat in perfect silence, except for one boy whose fingers twitched briefly against the table before going still again. Hogwarts was not destroyed. It was perfected. Grindelwald believed magic blooms only in rare souls. A Muggle-born prodigy was not an anomaly, but proof that magic itself was trying to rise. The curriculum changed. Defense against the dark arts disappeared, replaced with advanced magical theory. There were no dark spells, only power and the will to use it. A girl raised her wand toward a line of Muggle workers, then lowered it again. She didn't question it. They were not taught to hate. They were taught something far more dangerous, that they were right. The house system survived, but its soul did not. The sorting hat was placed behind glass, an artifact of a more chaotic age. Once it twitched, just slightly, as though trying to speak. No one acknowledged it. Students were sorted instead by aptitude, by usefulness. Slytherin rose, Ravenclaw refined, Hufflepuff maintained, and Gryffindor was reshaped.
Slytherin became the premier house, its ambition and cunning prized as the ideal traits for future leaders of the regime. Ravenclaw was highly respected, transformed into the research and development arm of Grindelwald's empire, tasked with inventing new magic to maintain global control. Hufflepuff, with its ethos of hard work and loyalty, was relegated to producing the bureaucracy, the administrators who kept the trains running and the muggles fed. But Gryffindor was systematically broken. Chivalry and bravery are dangerous traits to a dictator. Gryffindor students were closely monitored, subjected to random legitimacy checks by the professors. Their bravery was redirected into fanaticism. They were funneled into Grindelwald's elite vanguard, taught that the bravest thing a wizard could do was die for the greater good.
Bravery became obedience. Courage became sacrifice. Students were monitored, their thoughts tested, their loyalty ensured. Even the ghosts seemed quieter. Nearly all had learned to obey. Hogwarts wasn't the only institution to fall. Durmstrang, the northern school that had expelled the young Grindelwald decades prior, became his personal capital of magical supremacy. It was transformed into a harsh, brutal military academy. If Hogwarts was where Grindelwald trained his politicians, Durmstrang was where he forged his executioners. Beauxbatons in France suffered a different, softer fate. It became the cultural jewel of the regime. Grindelwald appreciated beauty and art. Beauxbatons was turned into a gilded finishing school for the magical aristocracy, producing diplomats and socialites who projected the benevolence of the greater good to the remaining pockets of the magical world yet to fully submit. Magic was everywhere, but it no longer surprised anyone. The staircases still moved, but never unexpectedly. They always knew exactly where they were supposed to go. The world was no longer chaotic. It was correct. And yet, not everyone believed it. A young Tom Riddle stands among them, still watching, while others applauded. He didn't. He was watching, not the ceremony, but the system behind it. In another world, he would become the Dark Lord. But in this one, the throne was already taken.
Grindelwald would have recognized his potential. A brilliant mind, a dangerous one. He might have offered him power, control, purpose. But Tom Riddle was never meant to follow. His war would not be against Muggles. It would be against order itself. But Lord Voldemort serves no one. In a fascinating twist of fate, the most dangerous dark wizard in British history would have been forced into the role of a rebel. Riddle's Death Eaters wouldn't be fighting the Ministry of Magic. They would be an underground terrorist cell fighting Grindelwald's global empire. A war between two dark lords, one commanding the world with the Elder Wand, the other striking from the shadows using Horcruxes and unspeakable chaotic dark magic that even Grindelwald found abhorrent. Two visions of darkness, one that ruled the world and one that refused to kneel to it. Dumbledore sits alone. A cup of tea rested untouched beside him. Not out of fear, but refusal. He was not executed. He was left to witness. To watch as generations of children he once protected, grew into something unrecognizable. The shrouded phoenix, not powerful, not united, but still resisting. Because even in a perfect world, something still felt wrong. Grindelwald did not plunge the world into darkness. He refined it until resistance no longer felt necessary, until freedom no longer felt real. He did not conquer the world. He simply taught it not to resist. What do you think of this world? Would it be worse than war? Or more dangerous because no one fights back? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to Parallel Pages for more stories hidden in the shadows of the worlds we thought we knew. Until next time.